Warning, this video contains spoilers for Star Trek Discovery Season 1 and Star Trek Discovery Season 2. Hey everybody, Kevin here, checking in with another one of our hashtag Star Trek Discovery discussions videos. Today we're going to be looking at an interview that Alex Kurtzman, the current showrunner of Star Trek over at CBS, did with The Hollywood Reporter post the Season 2 of Discovery's finale. So yes, this will contain some spoilers. Okay, so really this interview is really lengthy, honestly. It's got a lot of information in there, and I encourage everyone to go and read it for themselves. I will, of course, link it down below in the description. However, I do want to hit some of the key notes that Kurtzman put out for us. That includes information about Discovery, the Picard series, and Anson Mount. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so let's first talk about Discovery. The first thing that he talks about really is that he confirms that the show is, yes, moving 950 years into the future, and this is going to be the furthest out show of Star Trek ever in existence. So the little thing that I posted up the other day talking about a weird theory, it seems to be that correct. I don't work for CBS, nor do I have inside sources, but I guess I just guessed what was going to happen. I think a lot of other people were thinking the same thing. So now Discovery is going to be in the future, and it's going to be the future Trek show that we all wanted it to be to begin with. And I don't know, it's kind of like a little mini victory, I guess, but we're taking the crew that we know and the ship that we know, and we're plopping it into the future. We're going to be 950 years into the future in the 33rd century, and that is just awesome. Now, my theories for this and what this show might entail is kind of twofold. One idea being that the eventual collapse of the Federation did occur even regardless of the control, that sentient life wasn't wiped out, but the Federation itself collapsed in on itself, and that the quadrants are just running amok, and we lead up to the events that we saw in the Calypso series, that short trek that we saw, which basically calls the Federation the Verdesh, and they hold on to the old long time ago, and there's all these different wars going on and stuff like that. That is an area that they could arrive at. Perhaps they're the last a big-blown Starfleet ship still available, and that they arrive in the future, and now all of these different former Starfleet factions are vying for the Discovery, and they want to use it for their own nefarious purposes. I don't know. That's one theory. The other theory, which I kind of hope that they do more than that one, which is that the Calypso thing never happened anymore because of the fact that it was wiped out, because that was an eventuality from the control wiping out all of sentient life. So now that that no longer has happened and they saved the sphere data, Calypso short trek doesn't happen, and that the Discovery just arrives in the future, and they just have to reintegrate back into society and try to, basically join up with Starfleet in the 33rd century and get used to doing things on that level. So that would be kind of fun too, and I hope that they do that more, because I feel like that would explore more themes that are more Trek related as opposed to the other one. But both are really good, but both of those things are what I'm thinking about in my mind. Kurtzman also talked about why it is that they decided to move the show of Discovery into the future, and he said, well, I think it was fun to play in canon, and it was fun to be in the TOS era, but we want to go ahead and move further away so that we don't have to keep basically tying our hands, which I think is just a really fun way of saying we're tired of people beating the shit out of us over this canon stuff, so we're going to take the show as far into the future as we possibly can, so that they can just leave us alone and we can do whatever we want, which is what we wanted to begin with. And it is interesting to note that Alex Kurtzman wasn't the original show creator. That was Brian Fuller and probably Les Moonbeeves and the rest of those guys at CBS. But it is interesting that he is now in control of Star Trek with Michelle Paradise, or Paradise, or however you say her name. And those two are now taking the show into the future. And it is interesting to think, like, if Kurtzman had been in charge the whole time, would he have just done a future show to begin with? Because of his experience with dealing with the troubles of dealing with a canon universe film that they dealt with on the JJ films, would he have just done that initially to avoid all of that? I don't know, but it is an interesting thing to think about. Another thing that's really interesting to talk about is the fact that Alex Kurtzman seems to be very aware of the positive fan reaction, and probably even the online poll to start up a Pike-centric TOS show starring, Ethan G. Peck, Anson Mount, and Rebecca Romijn. He even says, quote, "The fans have been heard. Anything is possible in the world of Trek. I would love to bring back that crew more than anything. It was a huge risk for us. One of the most gratifying things is to see how deeply the fans have embraced Pike, Spock, Number One, and the Enterprise. The idea of getting to tell more stories with them would be a delight for all of us." So that is an interesting thing to note. He is aware of the popularity, which means CBS is aware of the popularity, which means it may happen. I stress speculation here. I do not have any rumors. I don't have any inside sources. My gut is telling me that they're going to try to either do a full-blown series or they will do a couple of mini shows, which I know we've already seen them demonstrate with the short treks. They may do something like that for the Enterprise crew, just to show some kind of fun away missions with that crew. Maybe we'll get a couple of them. Maybe we'll get a short, snippet of a bunch of them. Maybe they'll bring back Harry Mudd a few more times. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. But I think that because the positive fan reaction is there, they've built these sets, they've got these actors ready to go, I think it's very safe to assume that we'll see something come out of the Pike TOS Spock #1 time frame with that cast and crew. What's also interesting is that he directly addressed the situation going on with Section 31, and he even said, quote, "If you're a fan of Deep Space Nine, you've probably spent the last 2 years saying, what the hell are they doing with Section 31? That's nothing like the Section 31 we know." And he says that's exactly right. In Deep Space Nine, they don't have badges or ships. They're an underground organization. What you see on Discovery and our upcoming show with Michelle Yeoh is how Section 31 became that organization and why it was so underground by the time Deep Space Nine's come around. Which is kind of what I've been saying and quite a few other people have been saying, which is that this is just a current version of Section 31 and they will change it. Remember, TOS is several hundred years before what we saw in Deep Space Nine. So it's possible that they change their mode of business and how they conduct themselves between, then and now. So I think it's fair to say that. But what is interesting to note is that he still says that Michelle Yeoh is going to be the lead of the Section 31 show. And this is really important because she's now in the future with the Discovery. So it makes me kind of confused as to how she herself is going to get back and not the rest of them, or are they all going to try to get back? Because my current theory in my mind is that none of the Discovery are going to get back to the original series timeline, especially since they spent so much effort in this season 2 to try to get them out of the canon timeline and TOS. It would be kind of dumb for them to bring them all the way back just so that Michelle Yeoh can come back. So it makes me think that possibly she's going to get separated from the crew in some way and that she'll come back to the TOS timeline. I'm not quite sure. Or that the Section 31 show we thought was going to take place in the TOS timeline is actually going to take place much further in the future. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But it is important to note that Alex Kurtzman is aware of the criticisms and that they seem to be kind of working towards evening that out and getting it more in line with what we saw inside of Deep Space Nine. And just one final note is that he did speak briefly about the Picard show at the end, and he says that everything is going swimmingly and that they will hopefully get started on production very soon. Now, a lot of the news reports initially said that the production was going to start sometime in April. Then it was kind of April 15th, April 17th. So the date seems to be kind of fluctuating, but we're not quite out of the end of April yet. But they seem to still think that it's going to start very soon. And he also said that the scripts that they have seem amazing and that all the pre-production work is going really, really well. So I'm very excited to see some actual information from the Picard show. I know a lot of people are speculating about the show, including myself. All we have is some casting announcements and a little bit of character descriptions, and I would love to see some real full-blown information or maybe some great stills. I cannot wait to see what Patrick Stewart looks like in whatever friggin' costume they're going to put him in. I have no idea. It won't be the captain's costume, or at least, I don't know. It might be. Who knows? Anyways, guys and gals, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this little bit of news. I did want to go ahead and pass all of this off to you guys because it seems as though Alex Kurtzman is trying his best to make people like Star Trek again. He's putting the Discovery out of the TOS timeline into the future, which we all wanted. He's saying he's going to correct what's going on with Section 31 and make it more in line with Deep Space Nine, which a lot of people wanted. And he's saying that the Picard show is doing fantastic and it's going to be a much different tone, and that they're even working on a more funny show as well, which is probably the animated series, and that's going to be another different type of tone, and there's just going to be a lot of Star Trek out there, and he's just trying to do his damnedest to do whatever it is that he can to make a great Star Trek franchise for all of us in this year, 2019. So we'll wait to see what the quality of all of these shows are. There is, of course, the concern of quantity over quality, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to be cautiously optimistic, and we'll see what happens going on into the future. Anyways, I want to hear what all of you think about these different things. Do you think it's a good idea to put Discovery in the future? Do you like that idea? What do you think about the Section 31 show? What do you think about the animated series or the Picard series? What are your thoughts, feelings about all of this stuff moving into the future of Star Trek? I'm curious to hear what all of you guys and gals think. So anyways, I will catch all of you all next time. Live long and prosper, my Trekkies.